Welcome into the 10th episode of The Latest with Devin and Brennan. I'm Devin Dobeck alongside John Swenton, filling in for Brennan McLaughlin today, and we have a jam-packed episode for you today on The Latest. Thank you for tuning back in with my season of baseball ending. We got a little time to catch up. We've missed a lot in the last couple months, obviously our last episode being March Madness. So let's get right into it. Bruins won Game 6 last night against St. Louis 5-1. Well-played game, but what are your takeaways from the game last night for the Bruins? What did you like? What didn't you like? What did you like that St. Louis was doing? What didn't you like?
I thought the Bruins last night were much more physical than they were in the past games, and I think that when they're not physical, it's usually their downfall.
I believe that in Game 5, they were a little more physical because they were out-hit by St. Louis 29-27 last night, but Game 5 they were more physical. Obviously, they didn't get a very good call on the trip on Noel Acciari. That didn't serve them very well and ended up leading to the St. Louis goal that arguably stands between the Bruins and a Game 6 Stanley Cup final victory because they could have won the Cup last night because you're telling me they're not going to win that game when they're out-shooting St. Louis 39-22 in game number 5, and they out-chance them 22-11. St. Louis gets a cheapo goal. Bruins are coming in overtime to win that one. So I think that honestly is why the Bruins haven't won the Cup already. But you know what? We got Game 7. Carmel will come around, and Bruins will be ready to battle in Game 7.
Hopefully they can get the win at home.
And they got to come out physical. They can't come out lackadaisically. They got to be stronger on the boards. But what else? What are your key factors? Any players or what aspects of the game do they need to move?
A player that I really like is Noel Acciari. I feel like he's doing both on defense and on offense really well.
Noel Acciari has been solid, getting shots on net. Hasn't scored a goal in a while, but he is the leading hitter for the Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals. So he is a definitely key physical player. But what's your take on David Backes? Do you think he should be in the lineup? Obviously, Coleman had a great game last night, scored a goal, his first ever playoff game, rookie season. So he played great, but is there anyone you think Backes could be playing over, or should he just be where he is right now?
I hate to say it because of how Coleman's been playing, but I do think Backes should be in the lineup just because it's his former team, and I think this game means more to him than it does to anyone else in the game.
Yeah, it does mean a lot to him. I agree with you there. I believe he's been a little soft, but, I mean, he's on the third line. I mean, there's not a lot you can ask for from him at his age. I mean, he's playing his best. Obviously, weak excuse, but I believe he should be playing on the second line over Danton Heinen. I'll tell you why. I believe that Danton Heinen and David Backes are very similar players, especially Heinen. I'd say the difference between Backes and Heinen is Backes is much more physical. He's been the one getting the hits. Heinen is really just kind of a placeholder. He had a breakaway last night, didn't even get a shot off. So I think he should be out of the lineup for Backes. Obviously, Coleman played good, so I don't mind keeping him in there. But, yeah, I just don't like Heinen. What do you think about Danton Heinen with the Bruins right now? Obviously, great regular season, but hasn't been performing in the playoffs as much.
Yeah, he hasn't been doing that well in the playoffs, and I do agree that Backes should start, probably over him instead of Coleman, just because Backes is also an assistant captain?
Yeah.
Assistant captain?
Alternate,
yeah. And I think they need some kind of leadership like that.
I agree. He's a veteran leader, and he deserves this Stanley Cup. And I'm not sure if he doesn't play in Game 7, if he'll be allowed on the ice for the Cup celebration, but I really would like to have him there for that. And I don't think that he's going to get that opportunity if he doesn't play. And I think Coleman's going to play Game 7, so as much as I hate to say it, I think we're not going to get to see David Backes. I'm not sure how he's feeling about it. What do you think he's thinking about his relationship with him and the Bruins, with them not playing him in such a key and big time like this? Do you think he thinks it's okay because whatever gets him the Cup, or do you think he wants to be out there? What do you think?
I think it's kind of both to him. I think that he would probably rather play, but I think he wants what's best for the team and is willing to do what's best for the team, which what he thinks, or not what he thinks, but what the Bruins think is for him to not play.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, but I really would like to see Backes in the lineup just because of his physicality, and he's a factor that gets in the Blues' heads. But speaking of all this physicality, what did you think, if you watched the last couple minutes of the game last night, St. Louis was throwing blatant cheap shots, and they accepted it and walked right to the locker room knowing what they did. And even in the instant replay after, you could see him winking in slow motion to the player he hit. I think it was Acciari. What do you think about that, John?
I'm really surprised that no one is going to get suspended for Game 7, or at least there haven't been any suspensions yet. I don't see why
It's
there
just
shouldn't be.
classless hockey.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would do that. Like, obviously, yeah, you just got your floor swiped or whatever, sweeps 5-1 at home with a chance to win the cup when you've never won one before. But I think that was just classless hockey, and I think what goes around comes around, and Bruins are coming out hard hitting. But who are your big physical guys for the Bruins that you want to see in Game 7?
Despite the jaw, I think Chara is still always going to be 6'9".
Yeah.
So he's always going to be a body on the ice. And another guy who's not as big, but Charlie McAvoy, he's
Yep.
like 200 pounds,
He's
so
been
he
playing
throws
good.
it around.
And Torrey Krug, you could argue, he's been laying some big hits. But yeah, like you said, Noel Acciari, I think, is a big physical factor. That fourth line has been probably the most productive line, arguably, with Nordstrom, Acciari, and Corrali. But what line do you think needs to improve their play? I mean, the first line didn't look bad in Game 6. But what line do you think needs some extra help in Game 7?
Even though they played pretty good in Game 6, I do think that the first line should probably step it up a little bit. I mean, Brad Marchand was looking really good last night, but Pasta has not been doing the best this entire playoffs. And I think as a player that's been doing it in the regular season, I think he needs to do something like that in the playoffs.
And can we just talk about the second line's been non-existent? Krejci, DeBrusque had a goal in Game 5, and then finally Heinen. But I feel like they haven't even been there. And all Krejci does is go and lose his face-offs. Him and Bergeron, they're like, oh, it's a face-off. Why not lose it? I mean, we're just getting horsed by Ryan O'Reilly and all those other Blues centers who are Bergeron, arguably one of the best face-off men in the game currently, and he's just getting horsed. And Krejci gets tossed out like it's his job. So I don't know, what's the story here, but I think they had 15 more face-off wins than us last night. So we need to clean that up because that's going to end up biting us in the back.
And I don't
sooner
think
or
it's
later.
just Krejci's play on the dot. I think that his play all around is looking really sloppy.
Yeah, he's been sloppy, not crisp. But in the playoff series before, he's been unbelievable. So I don't know where this is coming from. But that second line really needs to dial in. Third lines look good with Coyle, Johansson, and who's the third one I'm forgetting? That line? It'll come to me. But then the fourth line, of course, has been the key physically and everything else. But let's see. So predictions, key players for Game 7. Who you got?
I think the biggest key player for both teams is the goalie. I mean, Tuukka's been playing out of his mind.
Unbelievable.
Binnington is playing a good season and good playoffs so far, but I think obviously they're the two keys.
Yeah, I'd say Tuukka Rask. It's going to come down to who's the better goaltender. Binnington, I don't like him. He's a very whiny goalie. He's tapping everybody on his way to the bench. He's ridiculous. I mean,
Earlier in the season, he had a
flopping.
5-minute major for fighting. So
Yeah, he's just, I don't know. Rookie, though, got to hand it to him, made it this far. Started this year in the AHL. He's been playing good net for the Blues. Obviously, let that Carlo goal sneak in last night.
I think that one just took a weird bounce, but it was nice to see it going either way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Let's see. So, Game 7 predictions. What is your final score?
I'm going to
Who's the
have to
winner?
go 4-2 Bruins win.
I like that score. Who's going to have the goal? Who's going to be the impact player?
I don't know so much who's going to have the goal, but I think they're going to be up 3-2, and then they're going to pull the goalie. Binnington will go out, and then I think they will get an open net.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
empty
that.
net.
I'm seeing a 4-1 Bruins win. I'm thinking it's 3-1 and then an empty netter. But who's your candidate for Conn Smythe Trophy in the Stanley Cup? And let me remind you, it could be from the losing team. So what are your predictions on Conn Smythe MVP?
I think it's got to be Tuukka Rask.
Yep.
It has to be. He's been playing out of his mind all playoffs, and it just has to go to him.
I think, yeah, I agree with you. Tuukka's been probably the best player for the Bruins and the most key player. But we cannot forget on the other side, Ryan O'Reilly. He's been playing unbelievable hockey for the Blues. Goals in 3 straight games and created a breakaway last night out of nothing. If you watch the game, he just literally just finessed his way through the whole Bruins defense. And if he got a stick on the puck, that probably would have went in. He whiffed on his backhand. But yeah, I like 4-1 Bruins, 4-2 Bruins. Game 7, parade will be Friday at 11, if we can pull it off. But, and then shortly after the Bruins game, in case you missed it, I'm sure you've probably heard by now, David Ortiz was shot in Santo Domingo of the Dominican Republic. He was shot in the lower back during a robbery at, I believe, a club. He was in intensive care, got his gallbladder removed, some other intestines were moved around, but he is good to travel and will be flying home on the Red Sox private team charter. So prayers go out to him and his family, and we hope he'll be back on Fox Sports for baseball soon. But just anything you want to add to that or say?
Yeah, something interesting I heard earlier today, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that it might have been actually a hit and that it was purposeful that they went after Big Papi himself. And if that's the case, then
Yeah.
there's clearly an issue with
Just
that.
so much he's done for the game, and even when he was shot, he said to the doctor, "Please don't let me die. I'm a good man." He is the what we should all strive to be, or obviously all the pro athletes should strive to be, active in charity. Just a great man all around, and hopefully he gets better soon, and we'll see the big smiley, big cat that we all know and love. But speaking of the Red Sox, it's been a tough go for them. 500 baseball, maybe a game or two above 500. But what's been the story with them, John? You have anything you know really about that, or?
Not too much about the Red Sox. I know that they went off, or they had a shaky start at the beginning, but they're starting to turn it around.
Yeah, it's been like that. I think the offense just needs to produce. The starting pitching obviously hasn't been great. You got a few great starts. Few great starts out of Price. David Price, I'd say, is your ace right now. And Sale, even though he has a record of I think 2-7, I think he's been picking it up the last 3-4 games. He's been playing good, pitching good. He's got a couple no decisions, but I think Chris Sale has not been pitching terrible. Obviously, he's got 2 immaculate innings this year, which is 9 pitches, 9 strikes, 3 outs. So he's done that twice this season. He had a 17 strikeout game, I think. Was it 17? I think so. Might have even been more, but regardless of the point, he's been very key role in the Red Sox. But they got to get the offense behind him, obviously. Rafael Devers been playing not bad baseball. JD Martinez. Mookie Betts is starting to turn it on a little bit. Jackie Bradley Jr. has been hot after a very, very dismal start for him. But if the Red Sox, I believe that they're a couple games behind the Rays, and then I believe they're like 8 behind the Yankees. So we really need to turn that on if we want to have a chance to go and defend the title.
About Sale, how many immaculate innings are there in a year? Like, is that a common thing?
No. The most that's ever been done in a season is 1, and he's had 2 already thus far. So that's a very impressive statistic for him, and let's hope he can keep on it because we really need him. He's a key role. Bullpen hasn't been great. Walden, those kind of guys. But let's take a minute. Mr. Fem, if you're tuning in, we saw your award. Teacher here, Anthony Feminari, chemistry teacher here, was rewarded at Fenway Park for being a super fan teacher for, I'm not sure how many years he's been teaching, but they honored him at Fenway Park, got him on the field, which is probably one of his dreams come true. He got a jersey with his number 19 and Feminari on the back, so that was a pretty cool experience for him. I'm not sure where the video is. I saw it this morning in psychology, but very cool moment for him, and congratulations to Mr. Feminari, who's retiring this year, and we wish you the best. And thank you for your time at East Long Meadow. Okay, but I think that wraps up the Red Sox, as there's not much to talk about there. Let's move right into the NBA Finals. Game 5 is tonight, and in case you didn't hear, Kevin Durant will play in Game 5. What needs to turn around in this series for the Warriors, down 3-1?
I think Kevin Durant will definitely be a huge addition to their lineup because he's obviously a good team leader for them. Yeah, Klay Thompson is coming back from an injury, so they're looking pretty good.
Arguably the best player in the league, according to Stephen A. Smith. Do you think that he's the factor for the Warriors? Going into Toronto tonight, they need to win 3 straight games, starting with this one in Toronto. Do you think the Warriors have a shot here with Durant?
I do think with Durant they do have a shot, but I think that the bigger key will be Kawhi Leonard and how he will guard Kevin Durant all day. If he guards him like he usually does, or guards anyone like he usually does, then limits him a lot, then they're going to be looking pretty good.
Yeah. Any other key players for the Raptors that you'd like to touch
So there's this
base
one
on?
person on the Raptors I really like, Spicy P, Pascal Siakam. Game 1, he had a huge night. I think it was his career high, and it was Everyone's been saying that Draymond is the best defensive player of all time, but when they're guarding each other, doesn't always show.
It's a mismatch.
It's a mismatch, you might say.
Yeah, so the Raptors, they got a good hold. Let's just hope Drake doesn't wear anything Raptors tonight, or else they may lose, and then all chaos could break loose.
And I think another thing that's interesting about Kawhi Leonard is that when he was on the Spurs, he broke the Heat dynasty up, and now there's potential to break up the Warriors dynasty.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I saw, what do you think? Do you think if he wins the championship in Toronto, he'll stay? Because I saw a report a couple weeks ago that he bought a house in Los Angeles, and sold his house in Toronto. So that's very suspect.
Well,
if you
actually,
will.
he bought another house in Toronto the other day.
All right, so maybe he was just moving, but he
Exactly.
still bought the house in Los Angeles, which if you're a Raptors fan, you got to be a little concerned about what's going on there. But do you see him staying in Toronto if he wins a championship?
I
or-
do think that if they win a championship, he should stay because he's one of the best Raptors players of all time now, and he's only played there for 1 year.
That's a very good point. I mean, they've got a lot of other names. Vince Carter, I can't think of his name. What's the
Tracy McGrady.
Yep, Tracy McGrady. Players like that.
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar
formerly.
DeRozan. I mean, Kyle Lowry, but he's
Not
just
the best
an
in
above
playoffs.
average point guard, nothing too special. Jonas Valanciunas, he played for the Raptors, right?
He did. He's
He is.
traded now.
Yeah. Well, but the Raptors definitely in a good spot tonight against the Warriors, and maybe they can close it out and get their first NBA championship. Very excited to see how that goes down. Celtics, what do you see about all the Kyrie drama? Where's he going? Is he staying?
I do think that he's probably going to go to New York. I don't think that
Brooklyn
he's gonna
or
stay.
New York?
New York. Knicks.
You think he's going to go to the Knicks?
Yeah, just because they have the contract space.
I would think he would go to the Nets. I think if he gave it one more year, this is a very unpopular opinion. I think if he had one more year in Boston, I think the team would start to gel because he really, obviously 2 years ago he missed the playoffs, and then this year he missed a little bit of time in the regular season. I think this team just needs a little bit to gel. Kyrie, not a bad team leader, he's a veteran obviously, but the young guys look up to him. But I think we're going to have a very different-looking squad next season.
Especially with the rumors that Kemba Walker might sign to the Celtics too.
Yeah. Kemba Walker, if he came to Boston, that would be a big acquisition for us. But I think a lot of people are – you disagree?
Not the biggest Kemba Walker fan, and I think that it would probably be Jason Tatum's team, but
I think we're going to be looking at – I think they will make an impact. Obviously, Anthony Davis – on the market, there's multi-team deals that are being discussed right now. But I just see the Celtics having a very different squad, just like they did after the Isaiah Thomas year when they had only like 4 or 5 players from their previous team on. I think they're going to clean house. I think Al Horford, if he's willing to take a pay cut, he'll stay, but I don't know how much longer he'll stay. What pick do we have this year? 13?
I think it's like 11, I thought.
11? So
Hopefully
maybe
they
we
get
can
Bol
someone
Bol.
there. That would be a pickup. But Celtics well, it'll be interesting to see what Ainge does in the offseason if Kyrie stays, although it's not likely. But also, to just finish off the NBA, Tony Parker retired today at the age of 37. I believe he played 16 seasons and how many championships? 3, 4?
A
the
couple,
Spurs?
yeah, a few with the Spurs.
So congrats to Tony, and we wish him the best in his retirement. Finally, I guess we can move to the NFL. We haven't really touched base with you since March, so there's been a lot that's happened. I'll go through the obvious. OBJ to the Browns, Antonio Brown to the Raiders, Michael Bennett to the Patriots, all sorts of weird stuff, Trey Flowers to the Lions. Any other key acquisitions to teams that you are looking at next year?
I really want to get into the OBJ thing just because I think Baker Mayfield, great quarterback, MVP season now that he has him. I don't know.
Yeah, Browns with the second best Super Bowl odds, and that offense is looking star-studded with Kareem Hunt at running back after leaving Kansas City, and then you got Jarvis Landry, Njoku, OBJ, Baker Mayfield. So they have a very good-looking team. Their defense may need a little work. Obviously, Denzel Ward, but their defense might need a little work. And they lost Jamie Collins, who's coming back to New England, even though he didn't have a huge season for them. Still a key player.
He never really had the bigger or the impact that they wanted him to, but I think he might, when returning to the Patriots, he might have the same impact he had before.
Very early predictions for Patriots record. What are you seeing?
I don't know how tough their schedule is, but the Patriots are obviously a really good team, and they always are.
I
So,
see another 12-4,
yeah.
13-3 season out of New England.
I could see at least 10 wins.
Tom Brady needs to have a good season, though, because obviously last year you could see the age playing in. No disrespect, Tom. Another great Super Bowl season, but there was definitely a few head-scratcher throws that were not Tom Brady in his prime.
Now, speaking of the Patriots, there's Rob Gronkowski is retiring.
Yeah.
That's definitely a huge loss to the organization, as he was a fan favorite and obviously a great player.
But they have Ben Watson. He's going to have a 4-game PED ban, but he'll be back at tight end. He started his career with the Patriots and now back coming out of retirement. Safarian Jenkins, I really liked him, but he just
already got cut, yeah.
because family issues. But he's willing to re-sign when all those are resolved. But he is a very good offensive tight end. Did a lot with New York and then Jacksonville. I really hope he comes back to New England because I think he's a Rob Gronkowski type tight end, very offensive. And I think he could have big impact on the Pats offense. But who else the Pats got? Demaryius Thomas at wide receiver. But they did lose Chris Hogan. I believe to Tennessee. No, Carolina. He's going to Carolina. And then Philip Dorsett coming back. Brandon Bolden making the return. Big special teams guy.
Big special teams
key player. We're going to have Jason McCourty back in the secondary. Duron Harmon. Devin McCourty is going to return for another season. So that Patriots squad looking not too shabby. Sony Michel in the backfield. James White still with the team. So it'll be a very good... Oh, and James Devlin. It's not best tight end in the league. Don't quote me.
He's a fullback, so that's going to be tough.
Best fullback in the league. Don't quote me. Slip of words. But what is your take on Tyreek Hill and all that's been going on with him in Kansas City with the abuse of his
because
child?
of that and Kareem Hunt, Kansas City has become a notorious town to re-sign the players like that, and I think he'll get suspended for what he did.
Yeah, he definitely is. If other rumors are true, he deserves what's coming to him, and I think that hurts the Chiefs a lot and Mahomes because that's one of his best targets. I'm trying to
Hopefully
think
Sammy
what
Watkins will step up.
Yes, there's Sammy Watkins, there's Travis Kelce, but still, I think he's a huge player for them. But as for the NFL, do you have a Super Bowl prediction? Two teams you really like right now, way too early?
Well, obviously, I talked about the Browns, huge Browns guy.
I just
Baker
think it's an
Mayfield.
experience thing for them. I don't think they have the playoff experience. Because think about it, OBJ hasn't been in the playoffs. Jarvis Landry hasn't been in the playoffs. Then you got Baker Mayfield, who's going to be a second-year quarterback, I believe.
MVP quarterback, though.
Okay, fair enough.
Bold prediction.
Kareem Hunt, I guess you could argue his experience.
I don't think he'll play the whole season.
You don't think he'll play at all?
No.
Behind
He'll probably
Nick Chubb?
play. Yeah, Nick Chubb will probably get more of the carries, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely believe you there. And he had a better season than Michelle, which is crazy.
And he started it late, too. It was
Mhm.
Duke Johnson starting the first few weeks.
Yep. But they did lose Carlos Hyde to the Jaguars, so he's been their big running back out in Cleveland. So you got the Browns for the AFC.
I'm also liking the Saints, too.
You like the Saints
Yeah.
in the NFC? I like the Bears. I think the Bears defense and Mitchell Trubisky with a season under his belt now, I think he could come out strong for them. They do. I don't think. Do they have any big offensive acquisitions?
They also don't have a kicker.
Yeah. Well.
Well, you know that one.
Let's just say less. They do have. I'm trying to think. Tariq Cohen in the backfield. He's been good for them. Why can't I think of the other running back's name? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Jordan Howard. I'm not sure if he's returning.
I
Jordan
do
Howard
think
to
he's going to
Chicago.
return, but I think Tariq Cohen should get more of the
Yeah,
carries.
definitely. But I don't. Who they have at wide receiver? They have Kevin White. Who else do they have? They have anyone really? I think Trubisky needs some more targets.
Yeah, definitely.
Quite frankly.
I think it's their defense that really carries them and took them far last year.
I think the Bears will be good. The Rams will be good because they just got a lot of studs on that team, offense, and a few on defense. Aaron Donald, those type of guys.
Yeah, Aaron Donald.
So I like in the NFC, I like the Bears, the Saints, and the Rams. In the AFC, I think the Patriots. It's all going to come down to Tom Brady's play. If they're going to make, obviously they'll win the AFC East. That's really kind of granted, but because the Dolphins are going to be just. And then the
There's
Bills,
already talks of them dropping Josh Rosen.
the Bills will be. I think the Jets couldn't be bad with
Sam
Bell,
Darnold.
and they always scare the Patriots. They always come within a score or 10 points of the Pats. So they could be the one team in the AFC East that I could see. But I think they'll have a 500 season. I think the Jets will go 8-8, honestly, this year.
I think they'll go a little under 500.
A little under 7-9,
Yeah.
6-10. I think they'll have a decent season with Bell now and Robbie Anderson, Sam Darnold. Not a great quarterback,
No, definitely not.
but they might not have a terrible year. But yeah, so I like the Patriots, the Browns. If Baker has a good season, if their offense is clicking, and if they get some more studs on defense, I think they could make a shot at the Super Bowl. But like I said, it's an experience thing, in my opinion. The Chiefs, depending on what happens with Hill, that'll determine what happens there.
Now, what do you think about the Raiders and their
The
addition
Raiders,
of AB?
I think they'll be a 6-10. I don't think he's going to help them a lot. Derek Carr's old. Marshawn Lynch retired, so they don't have him in the backfield. But yeah, it'll be an interesting season for them. What do you think about the Raiders?
I don't think that he'll make the biggest difference just because he's a locker room character.
Mhm.
Some would say team cancer. But
Yeah, that's fair to say at this point. But I think that pretty much covers our pro sports. Bruins in 7. Let's move on to high school. So tonight, which this will probably be uploaded a little later, but baseball team currently started their game 10 minutes ago against Pittsfield at UMass Amherst. Tickets were not cheap to get in there. $7 student, $10 for 10, or for a parent, or adult rather. Can't speak today. And then they have a big game against Pittsfield. They lost in the regular season 7-0 up at Pittsfield. Joe Baxter
tough.
on the bump tonight. Should be interesting. Timmy Kroll with a great 5-3 outing. Joe Baxter actually got the save. But Timmy Kroll with a great 3 earned runs against Minnechaug, and they were able to secure the win at home on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to see how they return. And the lacrosse team finally up to Grafton. What do you know about, you're a former lacrosse player, so what do you know about Grafton? They're going
Washed
up
up.
Tantascwa. Washed up?
I'm pretty washed up. I myself am. But drafted, no, they're definitely not. They're a good team. It'll be interesting to see how that game goes. Just both are good teams.
A lot of good seniors on East Long Meadow. Michael Trace, of course. There's,
Super 7.
Yeah, Sebastian O'Neill, all those type of players. Austin
Isaiah
Seifert,
Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas. Trying to think. Andy Miller, the junior's
Ryan
been
Ward.
unbelievable. Ryan Ward's been good. John Oliver, of course. I'm sorry if I can't think of your name right now, but all their stars been great. Logan
Pete
Ward
Shagan.
rocking a mullet. They got Wes Maurer in net. Nothing by him. Shut out tonight. Don't quote me on it. Shut out. I'll take the under 0 goals. I'll take the under. So it'll be interesting to see how they return. We're not going to be able to update on you on that because this is our last episode in baseball in the semifinals against Pittsfield tonight. Hopefully they can pull it off and go to the Western Mass Championship. In lacrosse, hopefully they can beat Grafton and move, I believe, would that be their semifinal? Is this their semifinal or
I
final?
think this would be their semifinal tonight.
So hopefully both teams can pull off remarkable wins and pop into Mass Live and check that out. Let's go Bruins Game 7, and we're looking forward to next school year. We're going to try and, I'm trying to think of the word, we're going to update the show a little bit, try and get it a little more interesting and capturing
Production
and
value.
entertaining. So it'll be interesting. We're going to get John on here a little more. We'll have Brennan back. But it's been a great year. Thank you for all your support. 10 episodes of the latest, tried something new, and we've got a lot of positive support, and we really appreciate that. And obviously, commentating football and hockey, that's been great. And I'm very much looking forward to another couple great seasons next year. Be very exciting to go do that. So thank you for all your support and positive feedback and comments you've been giving us. Really appreciate that. And it's been a great inaugural year for the latest and for my commentating career, which I got roped into with Alex Maserati my sophomore year, and here I am junior year, hopefully filling his shoes a little bit. But thank you once again for all of us here at LCAT. It's been a great season with you, and let's go Bruins. I'm Devin Dobeck alongside John Swenton, and we'll see you next year.